Welcome to another quick and easy recipe. Today we're making Bolognese sauce. So first of all, we need to chop a full stalk of celery. We're not going to use all of it, but it's a good idea to take care of it right away, put it in a Ziploc, and whatever you're not using for this recipe, you can freeze it so you have it ready for your next recipe. You will also need some carrots and onions. I'm using about 2 cups of each. Also, because I don't like to waste anything, I'm using this wonderful olive oil from a jar of sun-dried tomatoes from the region of Puglia. It has a lot of nice herbs in it and it's going to give it a lot of flavors. So chop some onions and then start adding the onions first. There's not really a precise order, but that's what I usually do. So first I chop the onions and fry them first, and then I go ahead with the carrots. As you can see, I'm not precise at all, and if you would like to chop them smaller, go ahead and do that. I usually have very little time to do many things, so I'm not very precise. I'm not peeling the carrots because these are organic carrots and the skin is actually very nutritious. So if your carrots are organic, you don't need to peel them. Just chop them and put them in. They're also very big, but they will cook. This sauce will cook for a long time, so you will not even feel them. But I like to see my vegetables for some reason, so I don't chop them very small. And here I add 2 cups of celery. So I'm also going to write it down in the description below, but it's about 2 cups of celery, 2 cups of carrots, and 2 cups of onions. Equals amount, so it's easy to remember. Now stir them well, and I usually add some salt right away because it will make the vegetables sweat, as we say in Italian, so they will release the water with some salt, and this will prevent you from needing to add more olive oil. So it's just gives you a little help and it will not stick. I'm preparing the meat here. I'm using about 2 pounds of ground meat, ground lean meat. You can use any meat you want, and if you're vegetarian or vegan, you can also use shredded tofu or lentils, whatever you prefer. But as far as meat goes, there's no real rule, just any lean ground meat that you like. You can also add some sausages if you want to give it even more flavor, so feel free to just follow your intuition. I'm preparing some herbs from my garden, but you can also use some dried herbs instead, so about 1 abundant tablespoon of each herb, so it will be nicely flavored and spiced. And then I cover so the meat is cooking well. And once the meat is well cooked, then you can just make sure that you divide the meat so it doesn't stick all together. So with the help of the spoon, just break it down and divide it well. That's a nice sauce that it's forming underneath. At this point, I start adding the tomato sauce. And as you will see, because I don't like to waste anything, I empty the jars. This is about 1.5 jars of tomato sauce. This is plain tomato sauce. There is no sugar added. There is nothing else added. Just pureed tomatoes. So this is the best way to go about this recipe. So in order to get all the sauce out of those jars, I simply add some water to the jar and then close it with the lid, shake it well, and add it to the sauce. Zero waste. That's how I like to cook. And sometimes you might need it to do it twice, you know. Like here, I was not satisfied. It was not clean enough, so I went for another little bit of water, and now it's empty. Now it's clean enough. Okay, now I'm adding my herbs, and I have sage and rosemary and thyme in the garden, so that's what I like to add to this sauce. You can also tie it together so it's easier to get it out, but I was really lazy when I was cooking the sauce on that day, so I didn't feel like tying it and I just didn't do it. But you feel free to do it. And then add some salt and pepper to taste. Took me a while to get some pepper out of this mill, because it was almost empty, but I will fill it up for the next recipe. Okay, and a little bit more salt. So my salt is green because there are some dried herbs in there too. And then stir well, combine everything together nicely. And then at this point, the work is done. I usually cover the sauce and I let it cook. I let it slow cook from 4 to 6 hours. So you can do this in the morning, on a weekend, or in the evening as soon as you get home. Because the best way also, once it has cooked for 4 to 6 hours, is to turn off the heat, let it cool down, and put it in the fridge for a night. And this is after it stayed in the fridge for a night. And this is your sauce. Buon appetito!